This is a really quick tutorial on getting started with multi-platform. First, you should see Create Games after you've been flipped to Creator mode. From here, you'll create your first studio, My Studio, save that. Then we'll create a game. You can start from a template or from scratch. Even if you start from scratch, we do create some basic components for you. So let's do that. And we'll create that. So now we have manage components. This is where you go create the components that you place throughout your game. Manage game world is where you go and add components to individual locations. Your game UI is where you can decide what goes onto your HUD, your user interface, and attributes are if you want to add things like reputation. We have some built-in ones like health and experience points. So let's start off with manage game components. You'll see the ones that we've created for you automatically, including a currency, the first location, and your character. Those kind of the bare minimum that you need to get started. And for simplicity, let's just create a Harvestable, which is like your typical tap for getting resources. So we'll just call it Forest. We don't have to give it anything else at this point. And we can give it an image. We can do that later. But one thing we definitely need on our tap is a workflow for the user to interact with this component. And right now, the only component available is the harvesting workflow. Here we can say how long we want the harvesting to take. So we'll have a little progress bar. We'll say that takes 2 seconds. We'll save that. Find the rules of the workflow. That means what does the player need to have in order to be able to execute it and what happens when it's executed. So you'll notice some of these are grayed out. Those are not really relevant to this particular type of component or for this type of workflow. Required skill, so you could require that the player has lumberjacking skill. A gear attribute, you could require that the player has some gear that has a cutting wood attribute. You could require the player to have a minimum amount of stamina to be able to execute this workflow. And then on the output side, we can just output a resource, in which case we would be rewarding just wood from harvesting. You can also have rewarding on death. So this is tapping into the attribute system. You could create this forest with a certain amount of health, and every time the player harvests, it could modify the health attribute by deducting health. And then once the health reaches 0, then it would essentially die and be removed from the game scene, and you can award some additional resources in that case. You can also modify the gear attributes, so maybe reducing durability on the axe. You can modify the character by incrementing experience points, let's say, and reducing stamina. And you can modify the skill. So if we have the lumberjacking skill, we can give XP to that lumberjacking skill so that it levels up. So we'll just create a basic output resource. Um, Here we can define, yeah, we don't have wood yet, so we'll just spoof it out with gold. And you can just select which inventory the workflow places the resource into. So default is into player inventory, but we're just going to change that to the location inventory so that it's lying on the ground. And we will say that we get anywhere from, say, 2 to 3 pieces of gold per harvest workflow. And we'll just say 100% chance. So if you wanted to, you could make it so that 50% of the time you don't get anything, but we'll just have it always award something. Okay, and now we can go add this to the world. So this is where we would define, we can like do a loadout of components on the character or on the individual locations. So we'll go into this location and you'll see we have this area at the top for harvestables. Um, our harvestable does not use health, so it's essentially has a single use of the workflow we defined. So we can specify a quantity here. We can say that that forest is going to be able to execute the workflow 10 times, and it'll be the forest that we're adding. We'll add that, and there you go. We got the forest in our game scene. Factories is where you would add your lumber mill if you wanted a lumber mill to pre-exist, essentially. And then you can have additional stuff lying on the ground. Frono is just my default character name, and he's placed at the location. And next, we will go to the UI setup. So here we have a basic HUD UI. So we have a player inventory, we have the journal, we have a shop, and we show the player inventory of gold. See, it says player inventory. I'm just going to quickly shrink this so that you can see. Okay, so the play inventory, these are all the different buttons that you can add to your HUD and configure. You can have a location inventory with a label, so if you want to just say gold without having an icon, you can. Um, we will change that to location inventory. So now it's going to be showing the quantity of that inventory in that location. And then a little check mark here to save. And then if everything goes well, we should be able to go try out the game. So we'll go back to the home and we'll click playtest, opens a new window. And from here we can start a new game. Oh, but I accidentally went full screen. There we go. And there's the game we just built. Yes, let's start it. Forest components that we've added to the location. We don't see the coins up here yet because we don't have any at all. So right now it's not showing if there's none. We have 10 gold in our inventory already. Now if we harvest, this should produce some gold. That flies up and now we show the inventory. And this is the inventory at the locations that we can pick up. So if we want to pick up 1 gold, now we'll have 11 in our inventory. And after we've harvested this the 3 times, it will go away. One last thing I want to mention is that as you're developing your game, you can always go here, exit the game, and from here you can reset the game so that it will reload your configuration, and so you don't get a whole bunch of save games. Changes to your workflow will be picked up by a game that's in progress. You really only need to reset it if you want to reset your inventories or if you changed any of the uh, starting location or player inventory loadout in the edit world. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to join our Discord server. And if you have any feedback, then I'd be more than happy to hear it.